Welcome to Vanished Voices. We're your hosts. I'm Jenna.
And I'm Shannon.
Today is Christmas, and I know there are people listening right now who are surrounded by family, warmth, tradition, maybe the comfort of the same recipes, the same living room, the same laughter. But I also know there are families waking up today with a chair that stays empty, a phone that hasn't buzzed in years, a text thread that stops mid-sentence, a calendar that keeps moving forward even when their world doesn't. Because when someone you love is missing, the holiday doesn't pause the waiting, and that's why we're here.
So normally, today would be a full release day for Vanished Voices, but we made the choice to not drop a full case on Christmas. Not because the story doesn't matter. It matters more than most people will ever understand. It's because these cases deserve attention that's steady and not rushed. They deserve space, they deserve focus, and they deserve a listener who isn't trying to squeeze a tragedy into the space between wrapping paper and dinner plans. So today will be a pause, not silence, a moment to stay connected, stay present, and to remind you of why this show exists.
Vanished Voices was built for the names that don't trend, for the people who disappear and somehow the world barely notices. For the families who do everything right, file the report, make the flyers, call every station, beg for interviews, organize searches, and still get the same answer over and over again. We'll keep an eye out, or worse, nothing. No coverage, no urgency, no follow-up. And here's the thing that's hard to say out loud, but we have to say it anyways. In this country, attention can be a form of protection. Media coverage can create pressure. Pressure can create movement. Movement can create tips. Tips can create outcomes. But too many families never get that momentum, especially when the missing person is Indigenous or Black or Latina or LGBTQ+, or maybe struggling with addiction, maybe unhoused, or just not seen as the right kind, quote.
AKA a woman.
Exactly. And I need you to hear this clearly. A person's life does not become less valuable because of how the world labels them. A missing person does not become less missing because they're harder to categorize, harder to market, or harder for people to understand. And the families living this reality, they don't get breaks. They carry it through birthdays, through graduations, through new babies, through funerals, through holidays, and through a day like today.
So our next full episode will cover a case that should have been everywhere. A young woman whose disappearance should have triggered immediate urgency, not years of silence. A family that has kept fighting for visibility, for answers, and for action. We're going to handle it the way that Vanished Voices always does. We'll lay out what's known, we will name what's missing, and we will look at what systems failed and what still needs to happen. And we'll say her name clearly, because silence is not neutral, silence is a choice, and we refuse to choose it.
If you're listening today and you want to do something meaningful, something real, I'm going to give you a couple options. Not a giant checklist, not something overwhelming, just one small action you can take right now that matters. Share one episode of Vanished Voices, not because it helps us, but because it helps the person we're talking about. One share can reach the person who knows something, anything, but maybe didn't realize that it matters. If you have a few minutes, check your local missing persons page, maybe a national database, and just look. You'd be surprised how many faces you've never seen and how many names you've never heard, but you should have.
If you're close with someone today, talk about safety in a way that isn't fear-based, just real-life awareness. Check-ins, sharing locations, trusting instincts, keeping each other accountable to basic precautions. Especially because in the holidays, we always end up doing things that maybe we wouldn't normally be doing, and so people aren't necessarily aware of where you are.
Exactly.
Sometimes that prevention starts with a simple conversation that nobody wants to have until it's too late. And if you're someone who's ever hesitated to share a missing person flyer because you thought, someone else will. Maybe they left on purpose. It's definitely not my business. Let today to be the day you decide that it is your business. Because missing persons cases don't exist in a vacuum. They exist in our neighborhoods and our cities, in our highways, our hospitals, our shelters, and our systems. Sometimes the only difference between silence and discovery is whether enough people care at the same time.
To every family listening today who is missing someone, I want to say this clearly. We see you, we believe you, and we haven't forgotten. This show exists because you shouldn't have to scream into the void to get someone to pay attention to the person you love. So we'll be back with a full episode next week.
Until then, hold your people close, and if you can, hold space for the ones who can't. Thank you for listening to Vanished Voices. And as always, refuse to let these voices vanish.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Happy holidays.